Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros has called to ensure all equipment and conditions for the optimum functioning of the country's comprehensive diagnostic centers. The presidents of Russia and the United States held their first telephone conversation to discuss various bilateral issues, including the extension of the START III nuclear treaty. Protests by Indian farmers and clashes with police resulted in the death of at least one demonstrator, overshadowed the Republic Day military parade. Hello, from the headquarters of teleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. On Tuesday, President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros, ordered the reactivation of the comprehensive diagnostic centers throughout the country, as well as the optimization of their equipment.
We need to complete the basic health equipment in all the popular clinics of the country, reactivate the outpatient clinics and popular clinics, together with the health committees, and guarantee the basic health equipment. We need to reactivate 100% of these facilities and improve the services of the comprehensive diagnostic centers, all the repaired and renovated centers, all the comprehensive rehabilitation wards, and all the high technology centers in all the comprehensive health areas, with emergency services provided 24 hours a day, with laboratories, X-ray. We need to complete the basic health equipment in all the popular clinics of the country.
The Venezuelan Foreign Ministry announced that Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza held an online meeting with his counterpart from Guyana, Hugh Todd, during which he presented a note of protest regarding the detention of 2 vessels while reiterating the willingness for dialogue. Through an official communique, Venezuela informed that the meeting addressed the legitimate move by the Venezuelan Navy in intercepting 2 Guyanese vessels and the consequent detention of their crew members. The government of Venezuela transmitted its concerns to the Guyanese government regarding the case. The statement adds that Caracas reiterates its condemnation of the false accusations and misrepresentations of Georgetown, considering that they are not based on good faith, while at the same time it considers unacceptable the description of its territory as an exclusive economic zone and continental shelf. The government of Venezuela also reaffirmed its willingness to hold a sincere dialogue to jointly address any situation that affects regional peace and stability. In this sense, Caracas reiterates its interest in maintaining relations of respect and communication with the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Venezuelan state security forces announced the capture of 2 citizens allegedly involved in the Red October operation, promoted by the far-right to destabilize the country. The announcement was made by lawmaker for the Great Patriotic Pole Alliance, Freddy Bernal, who explained that the civilians Juan Carlos Roa alias Porquis and Carely Silva alias La Negra were detained by agents of the Directorate General of Military Counterintelligence. Bernal detailed that the conspiracy was led by former opposition lawmaker Juan Guaidó and coordinated by U.S. citizen Ben Smith Benson alias Luis Alberto Medina Guzman. The legislator stressed that this plan, including the stabilizing acts in the states of Apure, Táchira, and the area south of Lake Maracaibo, took place in order to weaken the response capacity of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces in the case of a foreign armed aggression against the territory.
This operation, called Red October, was coordinated by a man who was born in Colombia and is now a citizen of the United States and belongs to the intelligence services of the United States. He had several targets among the so-called crescent made up by the state of Apure, Táchira, and the area south of Lake Maracaibo, where they intended to sabotage the antennas of the General Secretariat of the Defense Council of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, to avoid or to minimize or hinder any reaction from the armed forces at the time of a paramilitary incursion or even a formal incursion.
According to the latest reports and polls in Ecuador, the presidential candidate for Union for Hope coalition, Andrés Araus, is leading voting intention ahead of the elections to be held on February the 7th. The latest survey by the pollster Clima Social determined that 30.1% of the respondents intend to vote araus. His closest rival, right-wing candidate Guillermo Lasso, enjoys 21.5% of voting intention, while the candidate for the Pacachukit party, Yacu Perez, has 17.2% support. As election day approaches, Andrés Arauz has urged the National Electoral Council to guarantee the participation of Ecuadorians residing abroad, who have complained of a lack of information required to cast their ballots. In Peru, the indefinite national strike action by doctors has reached its 14th day. The doctors are protesting against the poor working conditions in the midst of the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. This Tuesday, the Peruvian Medical Federation held a protest in front of the Ministry of Economic headquarters, demanding a response to the proposals made by the union. Among the demands issued by the health professionals is for the bill related to the third phase of the salary scales to be passed, which was presented by the Federation on January the 18th to the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Economy. Meanwhile, in view of the health crisis and the deficiencies and major shortages in the health system, the Medical Association proposed the implementation of a quarantine focused on the 100 districts with the highest infection rates, as well as the return to phase 2 of the economic reopening, with the understanding that the government should prioritize health over the economy. And the government of Peru has deployed armored vehicles along its borders in a bid to stop an influx of undocumented migrants. The border between Peru and Ecuador is currently closed due to the coronavirus, but this month the two countries' armies have detected and destroyed 11 illegal crossing routes used by caravans of migrants.
Borders are closed for health reasons, and what we have to do is ensure that any crossings that take place have all the legal guarantees. We have also verified that several illegal crossings have been destroyed, and we continue to patrol our entire border to ensure that this does not happen. We have deployed forces on both the Peruvian and Ecuadorian sides. We've also observed Ecuadorian troops on both sides of the border, and I think this shows we are making a joint effort to ensure that any crossings from one side to the other are done legally and in the correct way.
A wildfire raging in the south of Argentina has consumed a huge patch of forest land. In 2 days, local authorities announced on Tuesday. The blaze, whose origins are still unknown, is threatening a vast region around El Bolsón, a town of some 18,000 inhabitants in the Rio Negro province in northern Patagonia. More than 100 firefighters have been deployed to the area, working alongside volunteers and local residents, backed up by the 2 water-bombing helicopters and a small plane to combat the fire, which has now burned some 6,500 hectares. Drought, high temperatures and strong winds have complicated the firefighting efforts. And we'll go now to a short break. Follow us on Twitter at teleSUR English and Gladys teleSUR.
为了保持身体健康，我冥想。
Para mantenerme saludable, yo corro.
To keep myself healthy, I study.
Για να διατηρηθώ υγιής, τρέφομαι σωστά.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo bailo.
Para mantenerme saludable, yo purifico mi espíritu a través del cuerpo. ¿Y tú?
Guide your body. Tuesdays, only on teleSUR.
A review of the world news
that investigates, incites analysis and induces criticism, because every event has a context.
Pusimos el punto en el.
Dot in the I. Saturday, only on teleSUR.
Welcome back. President of Argentina, Alberto Fernandez, is making his first official visit to Chile in the midst of the health crisis sparked by the COVID-19 pandemic. President Fernandez arrived in Santiago de Chile this Tuesday on a visit aimed at strengthening bilateral cooperation between the two neighbors. The Chilean government honored the Argentinian president on the arrival. The announcement of agreements of economic, environmental, commercial, and health cooperation are expected. Chilean President Sebastián Piñera described the visit as fruitful for the economic recovery in the post-pandemic period.
Visit reflects the desire and commitment of both governments and both countries to continue strengthening ties of friendship and collaboration. The pandemic has subjected us to what it has subjected us to face in our own way, each of us, the unknown, and sometimes I think that if we had been more together and more united, we could surely have handled things better.
The presidents of Russia and the United States held their first telephone conversation to discuss various bilateral issues, including the extension of the START III nuclear treaty. The proposal made by the Russian president last October to his then U.S. counterpart was ignored after former President Trump decided to unilaterally withdraw this country from the Open Skies Treaty and the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. The understanding between the new U.S. administration in Washington and Moscow was accompanied by the exchange of diplomatic notes on the extension of the Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty. According to the Kremlin, the parties will complete the necessary procedures for the continuation of the START III in the next few days. The START III treaty was signed in Prague on April 8, 2010, ratified in 2010 and 2011, and expires on February 5, 2021. The treaty establishes a common limit for both countries in terms of the number of nuclear warheads and intercontinental missile launchers in their strategic arsenals. The United States will purchase additional doses of COVID-19 vaccine and will have enough to vaccinate 300 million Americans by summer's end, says U.S. President Joe Biden.
Vaccine to fully vaccinate 300 Americans by end of the summer, the beginning of the fall. But we want to make, look, I want to repeat, it'll be enough to fully vaccinate 300 Americans to beat this pandemic. 300 million Americans.
Russian Direct Investment Fund has announced that the Sputnik V vaccine against COVID-19 will be registered in the next few weeks in more than 25 countries. The head of fund, Kirill Dmitriev, speaking at this week's World Economic Forum on Tuesday, announced that so far the Russian-developed vaccine has been registered in 14 countries, while other nations are hoping to soon start using the shots to combat the spread of the novel coronavirus. The World Health Organization on Tuesday accused wealthy nations of vaccine nationalism and urged them to ensure coronavirus vaccines are also made widely available for poorer countries.
Rich countries are rolling out vaccines, while the world's least developed countries watch and wait. With every day that passes, the divide grows larger between the world's haves and have-nots. In my opening remarks last Monday, I said the world faced a catastrophic moral failure if it doesn't walk the talk on vaccine equity. Vaccine nationalism might serve short-term political goals, but it's in every nation's own interest to support vaccine equity. I leave you with a challenge I set at the beginning of the week. Together, we must ensure that vaccination of health workers and older people is underway in all countries within the first 100 days of this year.
The European Union on Tuesday warned pharmaceutical giants that have developed coronavirus vaccines with EU aid that the bloc must get its shots on schedule, a day after threatening to impose export controls on vaccines produced in the EU. Tensions between the European Union and laboratories have risen amid growing anger at the slow rollout of immunizations, with the bloc accusing AstraZeneca and Pfizer, which both have vaccine manufacturing facilities in Europe, of failing to guarantee the delivery of coronavirus vaccines without a valid explanation, while distributing shots to other nations outside Europe. Authorities announced plans that in the future all companies producing vaccines against COVID-19 in the EU will have to provide early notification whenever they want to export this to third countries. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced this Tuesday that more than 100,000 people who tested positive for the novel coronavirus have died in the United Kingdom since the pandemic took hold last year, representing the highest death toll in Europe as the country battles a new strain and its National Health Service is on the brink of collapse.
I'm sorry to have to tell you that today the number of deaths recorded from COVID in the UK has surpassed 100,000. And it's hard to compute the sorrow contained in that grim statistic. We will remember the courage of countless working people, not just our amazing NHS and care workers, but shop workers, transport staff, pharmacists, teachers, police, armed forces, emergency services, and many others who kept our country going during our biggest crisis since the Second World War.
Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin announced that Ireland's third coronavirus lockdown will be extended until March the 5th. Also, for the first time, travellers arriving in the country are to be legally required to quarantine either at home or in a hotel.
The government has decided to extend all of the current level 5 restrictions until the 5th of March, with a view to crushing the numbers of those contracting the disease. The message to people for the next 6 weeks is very simple. Stay at home.
And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Sean todos muy bienvenidos a Vidas. Hay lugares donde el arte se unifica con el orgullo de los pueblos. Y esos lugares están llenos de colores, alegría, pasión, tradiciones, arraigo, valor y entrega.
Real Life. Fridays. Only on teleSUR. Innovation. Science. The technological breakthrough and its influence in society.
Viajeros del saber, el futuro está aquí.
Atomism. Monday, only on teleSUR.
Acompañamos a los pueblos que resisten en cada una de sus luchas.
Somos esa ventana que se abre para visibilizarlos entre fronteras.
Thursdays, only on teleSUR.
Welcome back to From the South. Thousands of Indian farmers clashed with police across the New Delhi on Tuesday as they took protests against agricultural reforms into the capital during a giant Republic Day military parade. Police laid on one of their biggest security operations in years in a bid to keep demonstrators away from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, whose government's push for the 3 agricultural laws that have sparked 2 months of protests by farmers who stress their livelihoods and the country's food sovereignty are under threat. One farmer was killed in what police said was an accident after his tractor overturned. All over the city, security forces fired tear gas and staged baton charges. As night fell, authorities cut internet and phone links to the areas on the edge of the Delhi where the farmers have set up their camps.
We are here to support our brothers, our farmers, to Indians, because these laws are going to spoil the life of common men of this country. I am here to support my brothers because they are from a very long time they are protesting for.
Israel announced a week-long ban on most incoming and outgoing flights in a bid to slow the spread of the new variants of the novel coronavirus. The measure remained in effect until Sunday, a statement from the Prime Minister office said. Exceptions will be made for cargo and firefighting flights, as well as trips for medical treatments, funerals, and legal procedures. A panel of Health and Interior Ministry officials will be able to issue exceptions on requests for humanitarian or personal needs, the statement said. The decision came with the country in its 3rd national coronavirus lockdown, initiated late December and extended on Tuesday until the end of the month due to a surge in COVID-19 fatalities. In Egypt, the vaccination of medical staff with the Chinese Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccine continues. Egypt received the first batch of the country was reported over 162,000 COVID-19 cases and just under 9,000 fatalities. Sinopharm vaccine in December, which was officially licensed for emergency use that same month after undergoing 4 tests conducted by the Egyptian Drug Authority, which proved it was safe and effective in coronavirus prevention. The country is the first in Africa to receive a coronavirus vaccine and the first to conduct nationwide vaccinations. Mozambique's Prime Minister Agostinho do Rosario visited the Wara Wara Displacement Center in Sofala after Tropical Cyclone Eloise hit the coastal province, leaving hundreds of people homeless and killing at least 6.
We want all of you to come here, without leaving your farms down there, without leaving your graveyards down there, without leaving your traditions down there, but knowing that from December, January, February and March, the rain is coming and the storm also comes. There is no other way. So it is necessary to create the conditions up here, having houses for good living, having farms to produce, having drinking water, and for the farms. Can you do this program? We want all of you.
UNICEF has deployed its emergency teams and is coordinating relief operations in response to the drama that Mozambique is experiencing. However, the organization warned that at least 90,000 children are in the emergency situation, as well as 86,000 adults, so they are calling on the international community to join the effort to assist the affected population of the country. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has warned against rich countries bulk buying and hoarding coronavirus vaccine doses. Addressing the virtual 2021 World Economic Forum, the president said the low and middle-income countries were being sidelined by wealthier nations, some of which have been able to acquire up to 4 times the amount needed for their own population. He also used the opportunity to highlight the importance of the African Free Trade Agreement.
Release the excess vaccines that you've ordered and hoarded. There is just no need for a country which perhaps has about 40 million people goes and acquires 120 million doses or even 160 million. And yet the world needs access to those vaccines.
The head of the African Union on Tuesday urged Kenya and Somalia to exercise restraint and de-escalate tensions along their borders. African Union Chief Musa Faki Mohammed issued a statement noting he was following the tensions of the Kenya-Somalia border with concern and urging the two neighbors to engage in dialogue in line with the process led by the government Intergovernmental Authority on Development and 8-country trade bloc. Somalia has accused Kenya of supporting armored fighters who engaged Somali forces on Monday in clashes that claim 11 lives. Kenya, however, has distanced itself from the allegations and said it wants the conflict to end. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.
Innovation, science, the technological breakthrough and its influence in society.